I was recently sitting at home, incredibly bored, and thinking, you know what would be a brilliant idea? Blackpool. But more specifically, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, or as it's known now, Pleasure Beach Resort. So I planned my first trip in just under 2 years and grabbed some worthy adventurers to join me on this trip. And all this just to answer my question. Is Blackpool Pleasure Beach worth visiting in 2025? Well, join me as I deep dive into my full day there, exploring the goods and the bads, and bringing you along for the first event of the year, Twilight Thrills. For anybody that clicks on this video that is completely unaware of what Blackpool Pleasure Beach actually is, then this segment is for you. But if you already know what Blackpool Pleasure Beach is, which most of the UK probably should, then skip ahead. I've inserted some chapters into this video so it's much clearer for everybody. Blackpool Pleasure Beach is one of the UK's oldest amusement parks, found obviously in Blackpool. It opened up way back in 1896 with the iconic slogan of "We create the fun, you keep the memories." However, with how they operate now, I think they're keeping the memories and we're creating the fun with the amount of wooden coasters that they've still got at the park. But fair play to the park, they've definitely created a lot of both of these over the previous years. Some of their oldest rides, like the flying machines from 1904 and river caves from 1905, are still going to this day. Well, kinda. And in 1923, we saw the launch of the classic Big Dipper, which operates most of the time, when it's working, at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And I really don't know how it's still standing. I mean, this ride is over 100 years old and it's still going strong. Strong in more than one way though. Impressive. But let's stop living in the past. What's the current state of the park? And how would this affect you if you visited today? So I paid around £36 for a pre-booked ticket, which honestly isn't that bad. On the day tickets are £56, which is a bit steep, but if you plan ahead, then it's pretty good value. Especially for an event that runs all the way through into the evening. It'd be nice if some other parks did that a bit more often. Though, slight flaw, it didn't get dark until about 9 PM because, well, it's summer.
We have a problem!
That said, for somebody doing a 3-hour drive there and a 3-hour drive back, to get an 11-hour day is just a chef's kiss. Getting to the park is easy. Just look for the massive big one, the coaster, dominating the skylines, or the Eiffel Tower that's situated in Blackpool for some reason. I mean, weird. I did think they were in Blackpool, yet the Eiffel Tower's in the middle there. That's ever so strange. Once you're in, you go through your usual bag check and the security staff, you know, that sort of stuff. And then boom, you're hit with a pretty dramatic first impression. You walk in, you immediately see Valhalla's epic facade and the brand new launch pad standing proud. It's immersive, it feels exciting, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the day. But then comes the theming issue. Theming at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is just a bit of a mess. Outside of Nickelodeon Land, there aren't really defined areas. It's just a mashup of vibes, and not necessarily in the good way. I mean, there's not many places that you'll have a Viking-themed area, and then right next to that you'll have a futuristic-themed space ride, staring at each other. That is, to me, absolutely crazy. There is just no smooth transition from one style to another. It's just straight to the next thing without any warning, without any sort of land breaks. And that really breaks the flow for me. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the individual rides are really cool themes, and they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, Valhalla is such a good theme. Launchpad, it's pretty good. I mean, it's just an SNS shot and drop, right? It's not that impressive, but there's some smoke, they've got fancy outfits on. It looks the part. River Caves, amazing too. You got the Wallace and Gromit Phlegmatic. Like, there's some really good things. And then you have Icon. I'm not even sure what the theme of Icon actually is. No, I think it's like a Japanese sort of samurai theme, but you can't really just chuck down AstroTurf. black fences and call it a day. However, the ride completely makes up for the fact that the theming isn't that good. You can see where they spent the money on that ride, and it's clearly on the actual ride system itself rather than the theming. Now, if you manage to look past the theming side of it, and it doesn't really bother you that much since, well, realistically, not many parks in the UK have coherent themes. I would say that one of the best places to do it is either Paultons Park or Alton Towers. And I mean, they make some really good, complete themed areas. There is the next issue, and that is the merge points for Speedy Pass and Easy Pass were just a complete mess. I mean, I don't know if this is like this all the time, but for me on this day, half the time it felt like the entire batching area was just Fast Pass guests, and that just made the main queues cruel. It was absolutely awful. The queues were moving so slow. I mean, Icon was being sent out with half-empty trains repeatedly, simply because nobody's batching guests correctly at the air gates. And as for the Woodies, of course they're charming, but most of them run on one train, which absolutely tanks capacity. Now, there is one positive about Blackpool Pleasure Beach and its coasters and its throughput and everything, is they've got a hell of a lot of coasters. So, you know, if the queue for one thing is massive, you can almost guarantee that somewhere else in the park there's going to be a fairly quiet queue. However, on the day that I visited, the Grand National wasn't even open, and nor was the big one, which we'll get onto those two later on. We also had staggered opening times across most of the coasters, which you sort of expect these days. I mean, hell, a lot of big parks actually do this. Look at Alton Towers, for example. They don't open up a lot of their rides until sort of half an hour to an hour after a park opening time. Not to this extreme. I feel like Blackpool Pleasure Beach could have possibly done a little bit better with this, and maybe just reduce your park hours if you're going to have staggered opening times. For example, run it from 11 AM all the way through until 8 PM. But one of my biggest issues with the whole queuing system at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is this ticket scanning system. Why? Why do I have to scan myself and the rest of my group through every single ride? It's clunky, slow, and completely unnecessary. I mean, it's genuinely not needed. If anyone out there actually likes the system, then please let me know, because I think it's awful. It doesn't make sense to keep this system in place, considering I think the park switched to sort of pay on the gate tickets to get into the park and access all the rides rather than pay per ride about 3 or 4 years ago now. I mean, I know that it's been a good while. I've never visited the park when it's not been a show your ticket at the main entrance to actually get into the park. So realistically, I think that they just need to remove these. And if they did remove these, I think the throughput and the wait times would be so much better across literally every ride. Oh, and the app queue times, total fantasy. Some rides were listed at only 10 minutes and they were easily pushing 40 minutes. Some of the rides were listed as actually being open and they weren't even open at that point of time. And because there is no sort of queue time boards outside the front of most rides, you literally had no idea what you were getting yourself into when jumping into the queue. Look, the ride lineup is pretty unique. That's something I really do appreciate about the park, and I love the fact that they've got a mixture of some of the newer rides with a lot of the older rides. But it definitely feels stuck in time. Many attractions are just plain boring or outdated, and we're not even talking about the ones that didn't open at all this season. But as I said, they do really well at mixing the old with the new. And that said, Valhalla and Icon, still two of my favourite rides in the UK. But Red Arrow's Skyforce, you better bring that back very soon, because I absolutely love it. I also genuinely love how spread out the rides are across the park, and the interactions, the weaving paths through the coasters is one of the biggest strengths for me. And I think the park's got a great balance of family thrill, purely family rides, and you know, they're dark rides as well. It's got a very good balance of everything. They've even got a hell of a lot of water rides, which is great. Now, whether or not these rides are open or not, as I said, with the Grand National, that was currently undergoing a refurb while we visited, which it is due to open up within the next couple of months. River Caves is also undergoing a refurb. There was a couple of other rides that have just not opened at all, like the Dodgems, Red Arrow Skyforce, and there was a couple of more rides I think found over in Nickelodeon Land too. Not only that, but also with it being located right next to a beachfront, the weather can have like a massive effect on ride availability. For example, the big one just wasn't open the whole day, and you know, you can't really fault Blackpool Pleasure Beach for that, since it's not their fault at all. They cannot control the weather. The food, it's alright, definitely better than some other parks. I won't do name throwing here, but I think you all know who I'm on about. But I do not agree with the no outside food rule. Water only. I mean, come on. I get that you can leave and re-enter and go and eat food elsewhere, but it just feels completely unnecessary, especially if you have the security checks anyways where they're looking through your bags. I just don't really understand the whole you cannot bring anything into the park other than water sort of rule, as it just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. Overall, I really think Blackpool Pleasure Beach is crying out for some fresh investment in the park. And to be fair, there have been some. We've got Launchpad, which has just opened. We've got Valhalla, which had a seriously expensive overhaul. And of course, Icon back in 2018. But not only that, they are looking after their extremely old and very uncomfortable and rough wooden coasters. But let's be honest, it's time to say goodbye to some of their aging woodies and God, I haven't even mentioned it once in this video because I've been trying to avoid it, but Infusion. That ride just needs retiring, blowing up, getting rid of, whatever. It's just not it anymore. If you wanted to ride like an SLC, then you got Kamali over at Flamingoland, or you got Odyssey over at Fantasy Island, and those two are much better. What the park really needs is something bold and modern to inject new life into it. And honestly, I'm proper excited for Avictas, the massive Intamin gyro swing that's landing in 2026. So we've got 1 year to wait for this. That's the kind of energy that this park needs more of. Big thrills, modern tech, and a reason to keep coming back. So yeah, despite all the moaning, the weird merge points, the half-empty trains, and that super outdated ticket scanning system, I still think Blackpool Pleasure Beach is a fantastic park, and it was 100% worth visiting in 2025. There's just something about the charm of the place. It's chaotic, it's quirky, it's got some rides that have no right still being open, and yet it works really well. The ride lineup is genuinely quite solid, and the atmosphere is very unique for a UK theme park. When it's on form, the park delivers one of the best days out in the UK, and that's for sure. It still sits firmly within the top 5 UK theme parks, and with the new investments that are going to be coming to the park, it's very clear that they are trying. And that's great. But it needs more. It needs better operations, smarter tech, a bit more consistency, and please, somebody explain the ticket scanning situation to me. I may be completely missing something here, but it just seems so pointless. That's my honest review. If you've been recently, let me know, was your experience anything like mine? Did I catch a weird day, or is this just the norm? And of course, if you did enjoy the video, then drop a like, subscribe, and maybe even send it to somebody who still thinks Infusion is good. Just let them know that they do need help. Anyways, cheers for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.